Hi guys, it's Laura at Sheer Passion. It's beautiful outside. I'm trying a different setting in the room, so I want to be able to be better at electronic devices. Who's with me on that one? I love to see what they do on television, how they tell us what they can do, and plugging into the video systems has been great. And I wanted to keep my videos shorter because what happens when you get into long videos, and I know this for myself, even if you're at church or if you're at a function, you look at your watch and you see an hour, and then yet an hour can fly by if you're having a really good time. But it's easier if you have something that's smaller increments. So I'm going to try to keep the videos to much smaller increments. I wish I had more time to put more videos on here. I think I could talk about every subject every day, but you know how life is. It gets busy and I have a family and I want to be able to spend time with them. And I've shared with you before that the gym is very important to me to keep my health, and so I make it a point to go to the gym with my husband, and today is one of those days. So I wanted to talk to us about confrontation because it's something that comes up in my life a lot. Confrontation is tough. Confrontation sounds negative. Confrontation sounds almost angry, where if you're going to confront something, that means that it's bad or it's weak. So if you're going to confront something in your own life, if you're overweight or you're in debt or you're in a bad relationship, you want to be able to confront that. So obviously there's an issue. It could be broken. It could be maybe not fixable. And that's one of the things that I want to talk to us about. Confrontation is so necessary. It is so necessary for us to be able to confront things in our own lives, in our own thoughts, in our own brains, in our own heart. Our heart is connected to emotions, and our brain is connected to rational thought or irrational thought. So what happens when you do not set time aside to confront any subject in your life? There's things that fester out into society. Why is that? Well, because the minute that you walk out that door, you're going to run into other people's family members. And if they haven't confronted things in their own life, and they haven't dealt with who they are and how they act, when you go to confront them, there's going to be a lot of emotional defense. There's going to be this line of defense that you've come up and you've hit because there's been multiple times in their life where they haven't confronted those issues. This can happen in any walk of life. This can happen in any decade of your life. This doesn't just happen if you're at middle school, like my stepson. This doesn't just happen where my husband and I are our own bosses, so we have to constantly confront how we spend our time. Who else is going to manage our time? No one. So we also have to work, and then we have to make time for our personal lives. We have to confront that. That's an issue. That's not something that will just take care of itself. It can easily devour you. It's literally something we have to deal with on a daily basis. So it has been so important to me to take what I didn't have in my childhood and my teen years and my young adult years, where I didn't confront lies, rumors, misunderstandings, confusions, anger, fear, responsibility, accountability. These are things that continually come up from the moment that families wake up and put their feet to the floor, to the moment you get in the car and the way you drive to work, how you walk through, get into the office, and then go back out into society. If you do not confront how you treat yourself and everything you do to your body, to your vessel, to your brain, you won't be able to confront when those people come up against those boundaries, or somebody else's boundary for that very matter. So what happens in our society is that things will fester. It will become a disease. It will drown everyone in it. If this isn't dealt with, it's a default that God has put in the human body. We are going to mess up. We're going to mess up on a daily basis. There's going to be some of us who are just living our lives in such a way that we stay away from continually hurting other people's feelings just because we're a little more structured. There's some more structured personalities out there. There's some more chaotic personalities out there. But you know what? Together we can actually make these things work. We don't have to be afraid of confronting anything. No, on the contrary, you have to be afraid of not confronting it. Do you understand that if we could all not confront issues and get better, then it wouldn't be an issue? The reality is there isn't much in life. There isn't much in life that you can get everybody doing or not doing and everybody get better. So we can't all eat too much, and then we can't all not eat enough. No, we all have to stay confronting how we treat our bodies. See, we can't just all stop and hope that when issues arise at work that somebody else will deal with it. Because if that thought was in everybody, then once again it's nobody's responsibility. We continually have to want to believe in confrontation so that it gives glory to the brains that we've been given, because if you don't use them, you will lose them. You cannot have irrational, confused thoughts for any length of time and come out of that year or decade and be a rational thinking person. You can't think quickly because you're so used to keeping secrets and lies. And what happens is everyone is afraid to confront the genuine issue. Why? Because you've forgotten the power of your brain is in confronting issues so that nothing scares you. Why would no issue scare you? I mean, think about that. Why would no issue ever scare you? Ultimately, if you hold yourself accountable to opening up your life, thoughts, and things to other people when you're confronted to find truth, truth is found by asking questions. You can never allow confrontation to go by the wayside because you wouldn't be able to ask the questions. Questions are very important. I've said this before. Questions can clear a room. Yes, because it immediately locates truth. Because when we're left to deceive or to be deceived, we aren't asking questions. What are we doing? We're assuming in our brains, based on the way we treat ourselves and the way our families treat each other, or the way our bosses or coworkers treat each other, that is how everyone in the world treats one another. That's based on our own thinking. That is because we have not asked a question to somebody else to say, Laura, do you think this way? Laura, what do you think? That is when we can relate to each other. We can get in there and we can relate to each other in that moment, which means you have to be able to confront an issue by asking questions. How does it not turn into gossip? Very easily. Gossip only works when the people who listen to the words make irrational decisions inside of their brain based on the way they have acted and how old they are and how long they've been alive and the people around them. So it's basically, we are, as a human society, a walking petri dish. We're constantly experimenting with how long something should be let go or fester or confronted. Some of us have confronted right in the issue, right in the heat of the issue. Other times there's been long periods of time where the dust settles and we go back to the original issue. There's lots of different ways how confrontation works, but time is not always a healer unless the person or the persons have confronted the issue in their brain and allowed healing and forgiveness to get in there and then shared it with another person. Because what would we be if we had found a way to keep things from festering inside of our brains, to base more self-worth and self-confidence tomorrow from what we learned today and what we shared with another person? Oh goodness. I speak to myself on this subject. This subject is like the stair mill at the gym. It will not be conquered. Because you're going to be continually teaching the young people how to not behave like the adults. Don't let things fester. Nothing needs to fester, but you definitely need to have confrontation. How does confrontation work best? Everybody must be in the room. Once an issue has arisen, even if the dust does settle, and it does, everybody must be in the room. Now, that doesn't mean we're all going to agree, but it does mean that our ears will hear the words that are coming out. And if you weren't able to process quickly based on your childhood and your own anxiety, because anxiety is killing this nation. Anxiety wells up if you confront and if you don't confront. Anxiety wells up if you even think about confronting an issue. You better believe it. It's nasty. It's nasty stuff. If anxiety put money in my bank account, every time I had some, I'd be a billionaire. Who's with me on that one? Maybe you haven't identified anxiety in your life. You need to listen to your body. If you have not died yet because of not confronting an issue, then think about how much more alive you will be when you do confront the issue. Because what you're going to say to yourself is, self, I deserve to go to that person. Ask that person, what happened? What's happening? What's our game plan? And why would we do that? Because every person who is born on the planet has a right to accountability and responsibility. They might not have that rational thought, but because somebody else would stand up for it, and because she would be a child of God, or he would be a child of God, we would continually walk this earth and share God's name, not just because we go to church on Sundays, not just because we go to outreaches, not just because we go to creations and camps, but because we would walk the planet continually sharing God's love in a way that another human being could relate to it. So you relate to it Monday through Sunday. And I got to tell you, people who go to church have issues before they get there because we're people. So that is why confrontation does not need to be violent. Can it be heated? Yes. Are we human? Absolutely. 100% human. Are the voices going to be raised? Maybe a bit. Are they going to be loud? Probably. Are they going to be swearing? Yeah, there could be some of that. Have we all done it? Well, I guess if we're not going to be honest, the answer is going to be no on the other side of the screen, but I'll go first. Yeah. So when somebody else gets upset, how would we be rational? Their voice is loud. They seem pushed. They're swearing. Oh, we're just confronting an issue here. It goes away. Have you ever noticed how when you're angry, you're yelling and you're screaming and then it goes away? That's because it's coming up from your toes in the 3rd grade, everything we never worked out, and little Billy who smacked you in the lunchroom, and here we are married twice, and it's coming up. It has to come up. It must come out of the body. It must come out of the body. So a loud voice, who cares? That's anger. That's frustration. We all know that. Except we haven't had to really identify it. No, we allow it most of the time to, I'm not going to be talked to that way. I'm not going to stand here and deal with that. Oh, that's disrespect. How convenient. How convenient. Walking away from those moments don't always guarantee that confrontation will come about and change will come about. If we had learned to identify the entire part of being angry and frustrated, we would have watched the body language of other people, and we would have been content to stand there and understand the difference between confrontation and just the natural part of the day. Things that were just kind of neutral and working out our way, right? Confrontation isn't that scary. It's not confronting the issue that's scary. In that moment, you identify that you don't love yourself. In that moment, you take away that you are important. In the moment that you don't stand up and you do not walk yourself to the situation, you tell you and everyone who is watching you that you do not deserve to learn from a mistake or stand up for truth. I got news for you, folks. Reading the Bible literally and metaphorically will really help you. Confrontation was in the Bible all over the place. Not so much to necessarily point out who would confront in societies the alphas versus the betas, the extroverts versus the introverts, the strong-willed, the leaders. What it was is to explain that this is what happens in human nature. That's why God put it there for us. It's to read. It's to relate. It's to think on. It's to be rational. It's to be intellectual. It's to take it to another understanding and continually apply it across the masses no matter what decade we're in. The Bible is as applicable as a little black dress. There are just some things in our society that no matter how many times you turn them or you try to twist them, the basics are enough. It's like it's up there with pizza. It doesn't matter what pizza used to be like versus what it is today. It does the same thing the moment you take your first bite. There are just some things you cannot change that work for all of us. And one of them is to understand your self-worth begins and ends and is hinged on confronting issues in the brain. It will not kill you, but it is going to feel like it is killing you. Because in the moment that you feel like your insides are turning to concrete and everybody's voices are coming in and you're feeling the adrenaline rush through your veins and you can feel it hot and it's pulsating and your neck hurts and everything's stiffening up, everything is just so much more intense and you don't feel like you can talk without stammering, that's okay. That's anxiety. That's allowing you to understand, even if it wasn't this issue today, unfortunately, you had that wall in your brain for a while. And it was there from a beginning, not today's beginning, not tomorrow's. No, these are solid walls in the brain that come from childhood. And what we didn't get to grow in those environments. I'm not saying that everybody's parent sits around trying to destroy their child's life. I surely am not. But I'm also not saying every parent sits and tries to figure out how to not destroy their child's life. It's a big difference. I don't care what you say you don't think you do. I want to hear what you do. To have rational thought, to not destroy our childhood, we'd have to have rational thought to build. This is what I'm telling you. This is my experience. If you do not confront the issues in the brain and take action and be responsible to get in front of the issue and deal with it 100%, it will fester and it will get worse. You will kill relationships. You will kill opportunities. You will kill any dream you had. You will literally take the joy right off your face. I pray that God uses me to help change even the smallest part of the nation so that my pain was not in vain. And I pray that I will be capable of helping you understand that you are not alone, but there is joy on my face, and it has been continually beaten at, prodded at, pulled at, questioned. It is not something that people give me. It comes from God. It comes from intellectual thought. Have I let myself down? Yes. Continually. I let myself down. But I try in that moment to think about what was really going on and what was I dealing with that I didn't feel I was adequate enough to go to the Lord. I will go to my husband with anything, because he's a person who will talk back to me and give me an answer, even if it's just the one I want to hear. It's harder to go to the Lord and be patient. Oh, I go to the Lord every day and tell him what's going on. That doesn't always mean that I listen patiently for the answer. Sometimes I've got to go down another road to realize and understand that some of those basics that he's given me, they still apply. Accountability and responsibility helps confront the issues in our society so that our brains can continually grow. And the moment we walk out the door, we can evangelize his name and give God the glory. Let's do that this week together. Let's try to be better. Thank you so much, guys. Don't forget to plug into the brassiest side of Sheer Passion. Sheer Passion to blog at blogspot.com. Thanks so much, guys. I'll see you next week.